Hello, everybody, and welcome to Church at Home with Rachel for the 12th of December, Tuesday. Glad to see you, and I'm glad you're here. I'd like to talk a little bit about family. In particular, I'd like to talk about sisters today. You see, today is my middle sister's birthday. Happy birthday, Jen. I am so proud of you, and you have grown into this incredible woman who is a wonderful mother and an incredible teacher. You know, you're not just a teacher, you're a mentor. So today is all about you. And I won't mention how old you are today. That in itself might say it's a big one, sis, and it's worth every minute it took you to get you here. I'd like to talk about sisters today, and I'd like to talk about family and the importance of having people who walk with us. And one of the things I want to talk about is recognition that family doesn't have to look like family. I'm blessed. I come from a family that I have a dad who had a sister and a brother who were both older than him, and both are deceased. My grandpa died before my parents got married, and my grandma died when I was 11, and I am her namesake. I was named after her, and she was a Spitfire. I hope I have a little bit of her in me. She had multiple sclerosis and she couldn't be stopped. As a matter of fact, I think one of the urban myths in my family is that she went in to see her doctor and he told her that she really needed to slow down, just to settle in the house and not go out anymore. And she left his doctor's office to go to the local travel agent to book a bus trip to the States. My grandma was the kind of person you just don't tell her to stop, because as soon as you do, she's just going to do more. My mom's side of the family, my mom came from a family of 7 children, the oldest of whom is adopted. And then she had that was my uncle, and then she had 2 older sisters. She was born, and a younger sister, and then a younger brother. And her younger brother and the sister who was immediately older than she um, is deceased. And then between, I think I have 3 cousins on my dad's side, and I have like 15 cousins on my mom's side, and a million second cousins once removed or something. My grandpa used to do that. I never understood how that worked. But I came from sort of an odd background of, on one side we have a little tiny family, and with my grandparents on my dad's side were both deaf, so not a lot of talking in their family, so pretty quiet. Our get-togethers for Christmas and stuff weren't raucous. On the other side, I had this massive family that we would get together for Christmas. I'm wearing my grandma's sweater today. It's actually freezing in my office, but we get together for Christmas, and it would be, if everybody showed up, I would be so disappointed, because that meant that I was back at the kids' table. In my family, we had the big table, which was where all the adults, so my grandparents and their children and their spouses would sit, or significant others, and then whoever's the baby of the family would sit in a high chair that my grandfather made, that didn't have a front on it, so that took one of my grandma's scarves and would tie the baby in. Totally unsafe, but it worked. And that child would sit right at my grandfather's right hand on the head of the table. And then the next older kids, the grandchildren who didn't fit at the big table, would sit at the card table. Remember the old fashioned card tables? They used to have them in churches. They're squares and they had the folding legs. The 4 oldest would sit there. And then there was the couch where you would sit if you were eating at the coffee table. And then there was the piano stool where you would sit if you were the youngest. And I used to get so excited because I think, oh, this year I'm finally going to be able to sit at the big people table. But if I got old enough to grow up, get up to another table, then that meant that my cousins who were older than me were old enough to bring their partners, their boyfriends or girlfriends to Christmas dinner, which meant that I'd be bumped back down, and there would be the domino effect where the kids who were older than me by a couple of years ended up at the card table, which meant I ended up back at the coffee table. It was crazy, but it was fun. It was amazing. It was family. But one thing I learned was that family doesn't have to be blood, because family is anyone who walks through your door that you commit yourself to loving, whether that's by adoption or by welcoming someone in and feeding them. That was the big thing in my house, my grandma's house. So they lived out in the farm, and it would be nothing for my grandma to wake up in the morning, walk past her outside her bedroom was a big room that was used as the boys' bedroom, but it didn't have any walls. It was an open landing space. And then the girls all slept in the other bedroom. And apparently, from time to time, one of my cousins would who would be out with his friends, his or her friends, and somebody needed a place to crash, and they would just go upstairs and crash on the bed in the middle landing space. And Grandma would walk out and go downstairs and make breakfast for some total stranger who introduced themselves as so and so's boyfriend or so and so's buddy when they came downstairs. And that was just normal. Grandma had they had a farm, so they would be feeding farm hands all the time. You were always welcome to come in, and that made you family. I was blessed when I was 9 years old that my sister, my youngest sister, came to live with us. She was 4 months old, and we adopted her. And in my mind, she was as much my sister as the sister who turned a number today, um, Anna. And she's just always been part of my life. Never occurred to me that she wouldn't be my family because she wasn't blood. Because the way I grew up, if you loved someone, if you chose to love them and they chose to love you back, that was strong. Those ties were stronger than blood. It's about being who we're called to be as family. And for me, family is everything. It is everything. And even when I can't be close to family, I'm always close to family because I may not live physically, geographically close to my mom and dad or my sisters and my nieces and nephews, but I have the members of my congregation. I have my neighbors. I have those people that I work with, those people that I celebrate their life stories with because they invite me in as their priest. And in my mind, that for, at least for me, it makes them family for me. And I find that to be an incredible gift, the sense of who family is. But because it's my sister's birthday, I'm reminded of all of those family moments, those because this was the day growing up for the longest time, even until I was a priest. I hate, at least no, even until I was in seminary. I hate to admit this, but I always thought the 12 days of Christmas started on December 12th and went up to Christmas Eve because December 12th, being my sister's birthday, was the day we always put our tree up. And that was synonymous. Jennifer's birthday, Christmas tree going up, that kicked off the Christmas season. I talked about Advent yesterday. Well, when I was a kid, Advent wasn't a thing. Advent really wasn't that much of a thing until I went to seminary. I was a very naive seminarian. But that sense of the 12 days of Christmas being this time of getting ready and spending with family and being so excited, that is carried with me. Now, the truth is, at the 12 days of Christmas start Christmas Day and go up to January 5th when we celebrate Epiphany on January 6th, which for me wasn't devastating because it just meant that my Christmas got longer. I used to think Christmas ended, when you went to bed on Christmas night, woke up on Boxing Day. And here I was, so excited to find out that I have another 12 days of Christmas. So really, it's a whole month. Being able to celebrate and recognize family is the most important thing because is that not what Christmas really is about? At Christmas, we recognize the coming of Jesus into our lives, that the sense that God loved us so much that God sent part of God's self to be human like us, to understand the human condition, that we would know that the human condition is understood by the divine, by God. But really what happened, I think, on that first Christmas morning is that the world got bigger. Our family got bigger. Jesus became this child who adopted all of us into his family, a family that prior to him coming, they didn't even know existed really. And ever since that moment when Jesus was born, every time a child is born, every time a person looks into a child's eyes and says, I love you, every time a kid comes home from school with finger paint all over them and under their nails and in their ears and up their nose because they have this incredible piece of art they want their mom to put on the fridge, the wall of fame, the artwork repository, the refrigerator door. Those, remember back in the day when in kindergarten or grade 1 we would make those, well, when I was growing up we made ashtrays out of potter's clay, and then we would we'd fire them up and then we would paint them. I think they eventually started calling them candy dishes, and they were always, who knew what they were. The fact that that lived for years until it broke, my ashtray for my mom lived on the shelf that never got used as such, thank God, but because she loved it, because it came from me. Or the macaroni necklaces and the popcorn strings on trees that half the popcorn gets eaten before it makes it onto a string. all those things that we do, the things that we contribute that are appreciated not because in and of themselves they're useful or helpful or beautiful, but because the person who receives it recognizes it as beautiful and helpful and useful, because not because of what the thing is, but because of who gave it to them, because it was given to them by family. As we walk through this Advent season and head into the Christmas season, I really do think that we need to take stock of who we think of as family and then reach out to them and say to them, I love you. Let them know that whether or not they realize that they are family, that you're there for them and that you believe that they're there for you. I know there's a number of people who watch these church at home videos who really struggle with that sense of who family is and whether they're accepted by their biological family. Always know that whether you're in a place where you can accept it yet for yourself, that you feel it to be true, always know that your Heavenly Father loves you. And because your Heavenly Father loves you and has invited you into this family through Jesus Christ, you have a whole world, a whole history of family who love you simply because you are a created being. And God has said you are very good. Family doesn't have to be family by blood. Family can be family by adoption. They can be family because they're coworkers or next door neighbors or you meet each other at the dog park. Family is who you choose it to be and who chooses you. So as we prepare for these 12 days of not Christmas, I invite you to think about who you want to be in your family and reach out to them and let them know, because the chances are, if you care enough about them to let them know, you may just be helping them to realize that they're beautiful too, that they're chosen. And they need to know that just as much as you need to know that you're chosen. And you are chosen. Have a great day. God bless you. I'll see you again tomorrow for Church at Home with Rachel.